Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. Welcome to r/MaliciousCompliance, one of Reddit's top tier subs, where people always follow the rules, but still manage to get some incredible revenge. Now, this sub is awesome, and the stories I've got for you today are also awesome, so let's not waste another second and get straight into this first post by user/Kramer361. So, I work at an outdoor bar and grill. I work as a busboy, but have some responsibilities outside of that. One of the responsibilities is stocking the walk-in freezer when beer shipments come in. The restaurant that I work at is very popular in my town, which means it takes a very long time to stock the mammoth shipments. It takes most of a day, and it's 100 to 200 cases of beer. So, I got to work on a shipment day, and there's more than I thought. I'm taking a lot longer than I usually would. I look up at the sky, and the clouds are looking pretty rough. I look at my phone, and lo and behold, it's gonna be a thunderstorm. So, I take the hand truck and start moving the beer under a canopy. My boss sees this, and doesn't like that I'm taking another 30 minutes to move the beer for a second time. She was a police officer for 20 years, and as she put it, I always know best. So, she just starts chucking the beer in the freezer way too high, with no regard for how it's stacked. I know she's gonna mess up royally, and try to explain that's not how you do it. This is how the following conversation ensued. My memory isn't the best, so this is a generalization. That's not how you do it. You're stacking them the wrong way, and the towers are way too high. I've been in this game for 3 years. I know what I'm doing. You put me here to do this job, and to do it right, and I was trained properly. That's the wrong way to do it. Either help me, or the doors are that way. And she points at the door. Cue malicious compliance. So, I go home for the day, because I know it's gonna go wrong, and I don't want to be responsible. Not 30 minutes later, I get a call from a coworker furiously screaming at me, saying I need to get back and fix my mistake. So, I ride my bike back and walk right to the freezer and see a mess. The entire right wall fell down, ruining around $4,000 worth of beer, $2,000 worth of food, and the entire wall is soaked. They had to close down the restaurant for 2 weeks to fix the freezer from the damage. Beer got under the floor and started mucking up the walls and floor. Moral of the story, listen to your employees. And I like the TLDR. My boss doesn't listen to me and loses around 10,000. And an update. My boss tried to lie to upper management to get me fired, saying I was the one that told her how to stack the beer. Thank God my coworker Jack saw what happened and vouched for me. She got fired. Feelgoodman.jpg. And why I read the TLDR out is because this boss lost way more than 10 grand. Maybe she destroyed 10 grand worth of stock, but imagine closing the restaurant down for 2 weeks. If your restaurant is really one of the busiest in town, I reckon we're talking a couple $100 grand, if not more in lost revenue. Less in profits, of course, but still a ton of money. And the fact that she tried pinning it on you after the fact. Wow, you were so lucky your coworker was there to vouch for you. And it's a good thing you got yourself out of there in time, because I don't doubt your manager would have found a way to blame you then. And actually, the next 3 posts all have a very similar theme. I don't know why I've gotten so many similar ones. They were all posted within the last week. It's about entitled people coming into stores and not being happy with women serving them. And we've got some pretty funny results. So let's get straight into this first one by user/SlimPickings. This popped into my mind recently. I used to work at a retail tropical fish store, and weird as it is, we were very well known. We used to provide the aquarium with rare fish, and people used to drive from 2 to 3 states over if they were true fish people to come buy from us. I, at the time 17 female, was an expert in tropical fish and koi. In fact, it was my job that summer to be the koi and outdoor pond point person. And my job was not only stocking the ponds, but managing all the plants, caring for them, and knowing every bit of information and all the prices of the various koi and goldfish we had. I knew diets, temperature ranges, places of origin, special breeds. I knew it all. They even would call me with questions on my days off. That clearly did not matter to one customer though. He came inside the store and asked for some help with koi outside. I happily agreed as I was the only person not on my lunch break. Now, this guy frankly seemed put off by me offering to help. So instead of buying anything, he decided to quiz me for 20 minutes about koi, goldfish, and pond plants to try get me to admit I didn't know something. I answered every single one of his stupid questions. Some really were stupid. And at the end of the 20 minutes, he had the balls to say, "Can I talk to someone who knows things? Like a man?" Full emphasis in tone on those words too. "Sure you can," I say with a fake smile. "Let me get John for ya." Here's the malicious compliance. John, name changed, was 75, retired, annoying as hell, and absolutely crazy. My boss didn't even want him to be hired, but he owed John a favour. Now, John is an expert in goldfish, but he hates koi and outside ponds. John, also like I said, is really annoying and crazy, but he had a soft spot for me, so we always would chat. I went inside to find John and explained to him that this customer wanted a man to talk to. John asked me why he wanted to speak to a man when I was a pond point person, and I told him that he clearly just didn't like the fact he was speaking to a girl. John nods knowingly, gets his evil grin on his face, and goes to help the customer. 5 minutes later, I hear a man yelling in the parking lot. I run outside and find the customer screaming at John and cursing him out. "What's wrong with you? Does anybody effing know anything around here? I will never come back. You're all horrible and know nothing about fish, and you're a terrible employee." Or something to that effect. I watch the guy hop into his car, slam the door, and drive off. I asked John what happened. He said, "Oh yeah, no, every time he asked me a question, I said, not sure, good question though. I could go get OP and ask, she's really our pond expert." And apparently, he did not like that. Customer, if you read this and remember this, F you. Thanks for reading. And may I just say, good riddance. You don't want customers like that in your shop. And also, people like John. Love people like John. Those people who've been working at a place for way too long and really should be retired, but they don't, and once you get to know them, they're the nicest people and will do absolutely anything because they just don't care anymore. It's the people like John that normally make these stories a whole lot better. Honestly, if this ever happens to you again, OP, I think you know the drill. Just go to get John straight away and you'll really have a fun time. And here's our next post by user/Kellermac. A few years ago, I worked in the electrical department of a big box home improvement store. At the time, I was in my mid-40s, female, and had been with the company about 15 years. I also had worked in construction before being hired there, and had helped my dad build a couple of houses. I didn't have a background in electrical, but over the years had asked a ton of questions of the electricians who shop there, and did a bunch of research on my own. So I was fairly well versed in basic knowledge, and knew the products we carried and how to use them. One day in struts Mr. "I'm an engineer," with his doting wife on his arm. I'm the only one in his department, and am working through customers as best I can. Everyone is fairly patient and in good humour. Finally, I get to Mr. Important, and he proceeds to ask me some technical type questions regarding wire sizes and conduit fittings. His questions reveal he knows less than he thinks he does. So I ask him for clarification so I can get him what he needs. He puffs up his chest and insists that he knows what he's doing, and to just find the non-existent product. The 3 or 4 customers in the aisle have now edged closer and are enjoying the exchange. Mr. Important then says the magic words, "Is there a man I can talk to?" "Of course," I say. "Just give me a minute to get someone for you." I walk out the department, find the nearest young male lot associate, tell him what's up, and send him off to help the VIP. I call the assistant manager for backup for the young man, and go on my break. The fallout, the assistant manager took me aside when I got back to gently chide me for my actions. Apparently, Lot Guy shows up and tells the customer he knows nothing about electrical. And when I get back from break, he'll ask me, since I'm the most knowledgeable person in the department. Customer who witnessed the exchange, who was a regular, tells Mr. VIP that he's an idiot and that said part doesn't exist. And that what he wants to do is against local code. Which is what I told him to begin with, minus the idiot part. VIP stomps out in a huff, adoring wife following behind. This isn't the first or last time I've done this. Usually, it's not so dramatic, and it's a little old lady looking for light bulbs. The lock guy I found was someone I knew wouldn't care if the customer was a jerk. He thought it was hilarious. Yeah, look, clearly being an engineer doesn't make you an expert in electrical wires. I mean, I'm guessing there are lots of different types of engineers, and a lot of them probably don't have any sort of idea about electrical wires. Look, the more of these stories I read, the less they just seem to make sense. Like, why is having a PP a requirement to have knowledge of electrical wires? Like, what's the correlation? I'm liking some of the suggestions from the comments, which is saying that OP should have put on a moustache, a pair of glasses, and a few socks in their pants, and come right back out to this guy and helped him like that. It sure would have made for a funny story. Not sure how practical it would be, but sure would be funny. And here's our next post by user/ShakeHireBooty. Back in my call center days, a frequent issue among our female techs, my team had about 5 to 9, on average out of about 200, was we'd get someone who would insist on being transferred to a male tech. This happened at least once a week. My friend Valerie got a customer who insisted that he speak with a man before even mentioning his problem, saying, "No offense, honey, but I just don't think you're qualified." If a customer ever requested to speak with another technician, for whatever reason, the policy was to tell the customer to call back. When told this, the customer demanded to speak with a supervisor. So he did. He spoke with the only female supervisor, Liz, on the floor, who loved getting these kinds of escalations. Who asked the customer why specifically he felt the technician who transferred him wasn't qualified to assist him. Apparently, Liz had a habit of letting any female new hires know that if a customer wanted to speak to a supervisor because they demanded a man, they're free to let her know. It gets better. Liz told me that normally these calls end with a very resigned and defeated customer being transferred back to a different and female tech to resolve the issue. But the customer that had escalated from Valerie refused to believe that another woman would be in any position of authority in our company and demanded to speak with Liz's boss. Liz told the customer that she was the final point of contact he was going to get, and if he didn't like it, he could call the corporate office. The customer assured Liz that he would do so and hung up. A week later, Liz finds out that the customer actually did call corporate to complain. However, unlike tech support, the customer interaction department of the corporate office was mostly women. When the VP of customer service got wind of this guy, she made sure that the female members of her staff were suddenly unavailable to speak with him, and even spoke with the customer personally. Unfortunately, ignorance often knows no bounds, so the customer continued to call back and harass the staff, using choice language and vague threats, until he managed to speak with a man, a representative of the company's legal department, who let the customer know that all calls with him had been recorded, that they consider any future attempt to contact them to be harassment, and he could expect a cease and desist letter in the near future. Liz said it was the first time she'd ever had the legal team follow up with anything she had done before. Damn. 3 stories, all very similarly themed, and 3 examples of complete and utter stupidity. I think we can all agree that gender has nothing to do with expertise in a certain area. Come on, that is just plain stupid. I mean, after reading these 3 stories, it's not even funny anymore. It's just kinda sad at this point that there are still so many people out there like that. And here's our next post by user/Skeptiker. When I was studying a long time ago, early 2000s, I worked at a fast food chain with golden arches which formerly employed a clown. Probably this was why it attracted clowns who thought it was funny and creative to do purposely false orders, like ordering competitors' brands or odd numbers of chicken nuggets. Yeah boy, really creative. Haven't heard this for 1,000 times yet. Anyways, my favourite was always the order of a cheeseburger without cheese. Everyone aware of the range of said restaurant chain knows that a cheeseburger without cheese is a plain hamburger. Otherwise, you know it now. There was a price difference between the two burgers of maybe 20 or 30 cents. So, here comes the malicious compliance. The registers at that time had already been able to process individual requests like no cheese and transfer it directly to kitchen staff. I don't think that the no cheese option was intended for simple cheeseburgers. But it worked. And it didn't reduce the item price to the price of a plain hamburger. So every time a clown would order a cheeseburger without cheese, I would ring this up instead of a plain hamburger of desire. No other tiny retaliations ever felt so good. At least one time, a clown evolved to a Karen and complained to the supervisor. However, after explaining what the customer ordered, he or she even confirmed this to the supervisor. My supervisor concludes that this was exactly done by textbook and nothing was wrong. I quit anyway as soon as I got a better offer. I believe this is also the sort of person who'd put 11 nuggets into a pack instead of 10. I want to say that if you're maliciously compliant like this, then it also goes the other way. Look, OP, you were fulfilling people's orders exactly, so you were truly in the right. And OP does add to edit that it was obvious which people were intentionally being stupid, and which ones genuinely didn't know the difference. So, I think it's safe to say, OP, you are pretty justified, and we're just doing your job. And here's our next post by user/DoorDef. This happened to a classmate of mine, and I was lucky enough to witness it. A couple of years back in high school, we were going to take a regular exam for a class I don't remember. The exam was right after our recess. Unfortunately for us, the teacher that would supervise us during the exam was one of the worst teachers most of us have ever seen. This teacher was also a sub, coming from another high school where teachers could abuse students as much as they liked. My high school had a much higher pay than hers, so she wanted to be a good sub and get hired as full-time staff. Let's call my friend Frank and teacher Karen. We sat down, attendance taken, and Karen gave us the green light to start the exam. Suddenly, Frank says, "Damn it," which gets the attention of Karen, and the following conversation ensues. "Mom, my pencil is broken. He was using a mechanical pencil. Can I get one from a friend?" "No, you can't. I told everyone before the exam that I would not allow pencil or eraser swapping. You should have checked it." She said this during our recess time, so unless you came in 6 or 7 minutes early, you wouldn't know it. "It was working. It got broken when I was solving the first question. Look, I even wrote my name with it." "I don't care. Not my problem." "So, what am I supposed to do then?" "I told you, I don't care. Write with blood if you have to." At this point, there's a small silence, and Karen has a small smile on her face, thinking she's won over a high school student and satisfied her ego. In my high school, we had 2 vice principals, and one of them would be checking every exam room at the beginning of an exam to make sure everything is okay. Attendance, missing exam sheets, and etc. We had glass walls, so you could see outside pretty easily. Frank spotted that the vice principal is about to enter the classroom. "Mom, can I get a pin from the whiteboard? We had one in every classroom." "What? Why?" Frank waits for a few seconds for vice principal to enter. And when she enters, "You told me to write in blood if I have to. Since you don't let me borrow a pencil from a friend, and I don't want to get a 0 from this exam, I would like to get a pin to put a hole in my finger and write with my blood." Vice principal is shook, looking horrified and just frozen. "What are you talking about, Frank?" "Mom, my pencil got broken during the first question. I asked permission from Karen to borrow a pencil from my classmates, but she said I can't. She doesn't care what I do, and that I can use my blood if I want to. So I wanted to use my blood to write and not get a 0 on the exam." Vice principal looks at the class with a puzzled face, as we all nodded our heads, confirming Frank, and some even say, "He's right, Mom." Vice principal looks mad, but won't say anything during exam in front of an entire class. "Frank, take a pencil from your friend. Of course you can't use your blood to write in any case. If anyone else needs, they can also borrow pencils or erasers." Vice principal storms off the class as Karen throws a death glare to Frank. We learn a couple weeks later that vice principal tore Karen a new one for being so stupid. Karen was overall a very bad teacher and had a ton of complaints about her within just a semester. At the end, she was sent away 1 week before the semester ended. We were already done with the curriculum, so there was no missed material. And of course, she wasn't hired as full-time staff. And wow, I did not expect that. In Turkey, you must have it rough with the education system. For reference, my suggestion is always take 2 pencils, pens, whatever it is you're writing with. That way, you can never be in this situation. Well, you can be, but it's a lot more difficult and a lot more rare. Always make sure you have a backup plan in case some teacher like this is causing trouble. Though I mean, the teacher really could have had some pens on hand to hand out to students if their pens broke and she was scared people would cheat. Like, come on, it's an easy solution. And guys, I think that post will be the last one for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to subscribe to the channel for Reddit videos 3 times every single week. Now, you may have noticed I do have a few extra videos coming up lately. That's temporary, usual upload schedule is still Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, but enjoy the extra videos while you can. But with that said, you guys, that will be it from me. I hope you all enjoyed, and all I want to do is see you all here next time. See you later, guys.